This was a long, hard trip. We ended up going for 14 and a half days. My wife and I and 6 kids, all 8 of us, spent 7 of those days in the sleeper just because of how things worked out.
The wires up and over the load.
Wind and weather set us back quite a bit. We ended up spending 3.5 days in Cheyenne, Wyoming, as the roads were shut down. But we went to a museum and had a nice time at church. Family from church took us into their home. It's 8 degrees and 18-mile-per-hour winds by the time we took off. Had to use the minivan's exhaust to warm up the engine of the truck. That was in that picture. Took us all day to get about halfway across Wyoming. After that, it was a little better weather. We probably saw 100 wrecked or disabled trucks through that worst day in Wyoming. Ended up paying $20,800. Hardly seemed worth it after all the trouble, after 8 days. So after that, we headed down to Yuma, Colorado. Picked up a tractor for one of my neighbors back home here. We spent the weekend with my brother in Elm Creek, Nebraska. That was the second weekend we were out. From there, we went to Des Moines, Iowa. We had to unload the tractor and the minivan. Oh, by the way, my wife was running the minivan for the whole trip. That was our height pole and escort car. This here was a trip for a customer of ours. Legally, you can't load a divisibly long load, but I decided just to save some time and miles, so I put the 2 tanks on the one load, passed the savings on to them. The wheel loader of the junkyard was broken down or froze up. It was very cold almost every day of this trip, just miserable. But fortunately, you don't have to work outside trucking a lot. So I always kind of enjoy these scrapyard runs because it doesn't matter if the load is damaged. Not at all. Yeah, we ended up getting stuck. Seemed like every load there was almost constant problems. That's what I'm throwing the rocks and the tires for here. After getting those tanks unloaded, we went back to Des Moines. We picked up the minivan and the tractor, brought those up to Sioux City. We unloaded them again. That was the second time. Third time for the van. We picked up this tank at the Hutterite colony and brought it back down to Sioux City. Ricky again ran the van as a pilot car and hype pole. It's quite the process to get it unloaded, just because it certain angles involved with it. These big tanks we're hauling are 53 feet long, and I can only stretch my trailer to 52 feet in the well, but because the extra foot is in the cone, it still fits, just barely. So I stretched the well of my trailer from 30 feet out to 52 feet. After dropping that first tank off, we went back up to another Hutterite colony, and again we had problems. The fork snapped off of the one forklift, so it took a while that night to get a loader from another colony brought over. We finally got that tank loaded, spent the night up by the colony, got it down the next morning to Sioux City, unloaded, reloaded the tractor and the minivan again. Got kind of tired of that process, and from there we went back that night to Verricle, Wisconsin. Unloaded the tractor and the minivan again. We used the tractor, by the way, didn't have reverse, so that was always interesting. We used the minivan each time to pull the tractor backwards off the trailer. So I loaded the minivan back up. That would have been for the 5th time. All told, we made $30,300. We took maybe, I don't know, maybe 20 of it home. It's always hard to know. 14 and a half days. We slept in the truck for 7 of those nights. It's been a challenge trying to work and record videos at the same time. Here my wife is doing some of the driving. If you got any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know and I'll try to address them in a future video. Thanks for watching.